Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates and some exciting Battlefront 2 news, because we just got the community transmission detailing the BB update as well as the Age of Rebellion, as we will be getting original trilogy content coming next month for Capital Supremacy and co-op. On top of that, we also got the February community calendar, as well as some snippets from the EA earnings call. So I will be going through all of that here in this video. So let's get straight into it. First of all, EA's CEO Andrew Wilson said during their earnings call yesterday that Battlefront 2's Celebration Edition performed significantly over their expectations. So that's definitely very good news for the game. And while I think anyone who's been looking around social media or been playing the game themselves have noticed that the game has gotten quite a boost, both in terms of interest and just overall I guess feelings towards the game. So it feels like the game is in a really good state right now, and if you combine that with the fact that they obviously made some extra money from that Celebration Edition and it performed significantly over expectations, I really hope that the game will continue after February and March, as well, it really shows that the game is in a good shape, and it also shows that it is possible for them to make some good money off the game. So just pump out some skins and cosmetics now that you've already gotten a lot of players, and I hope that the game can live on for a long time. But again, we don't really know much beyond February and March. So let's get into the actual update, the BB update community transmission. It's a very long community transmission and a very long release notes as always, so I'm gonna go through all the important parts, and the full details will be in the description below as always. So before we go into the specifics of the new heroes, let's talk about the Age of Rebellion. As January comes to a close, our attention turns to February, and with it, the confirmation that we will be returning to the original trilogy and the Age of Rebellion. This includes bringing specific planets to both co-op and later on Supremacy. We know that many of you have been requesting this, and we're incredibly excited at the prospect of playing as Luke, Leia, Darth Vader and more throughout both co-op and Supremacy. With the arrival of original trilogy, we will be making a name change to Capital Supremacy, as it will simply be called Supremacy. And the reason to why they're renaming it is because in the original trilogy, it seems like it will be fought exclusively on the ground with no capital ships. And they say that during development, they looked at the experiences that both Death Star and Scarif would offer, deciding that the Age of Rebellion would be focused on ground-based combat, which is a better fit for some of the more iconic locations we have available. It's hard to imagine leaving the Death Star to go to a capital ship, let alone having to deal with the shield that surrounds Scarif. But don't worry, it's still the same great Supremacy experience, just focused around ground-based gameplay. And yes, like you heard, they will be bringing back Scarif from Battlefront 2015. This is one of the most highly requested planets, and we're incredibly excited to see it return to the Battlefront. More details on the specifics of the Age of Rebellion content will come in February, but before that arrives, we're just days away from the next update. Let's take a look at what's coming on Monday, February 3rd, because as some of you might have heard, the update got delayed from this week due to some technical issues, so it's coming on Monday instead. So now let's move on to one of the new heroes in the BB update, BB-8. If there's one thing BB-8 can do, it's move fast. We've seen him rolling at great speed through multiple environments in the films, and he'll act the same way in Battlefront 2. He will feel fast, able to move in and out of harm's way at speed, while also being able to capture a command post at a quicker rate than others. Sounds very helpful for Capital Supremacy. Along with his ability to capture command posts, BB-8 comes with another advantage: his rolling charge ability. Activate it and BB-8 will roll much faster than normal, head first. When he bumps into an enemy, he extends his head, damaging and pushing them back. And if BB-8 finds himself in a position he can't zip out of, he can use his shock prod on enemies in front of him, which deals electrical damage to them over time. Always want to have a few tricks ready to go, BB-8 can also call upon his resistance backing ability, which unveils enemies around him. Not only will they be revealed, they will also be more vulnerable to attacks, taking slightly increased damage. Any enemies revealed by resistance backing will also have their radar corrupted. And lastly, one of his abilities is Cable Spin, where BB-8 will begin to rotate, extending 3 tow cables, hitting all enemies around him and causing high damage. So it sounds like he's going to have a lot of crowd control abilities, and he's probably going to be very good at capturing command posts, considering that, well, he can capture it faster, he can get to it very fast, and both his shock prod and cable spin seems to be like an area of effect ability, so he's probably going to be able to clear out areas quite effectively, but he might need some backup, as I'm assuming he's maybe not dealing that much damage to every individual, but more of like an area effect damage. So combine that with some grenades and you're probably good to go. And BB-8 has 3 passive abilities. The first one being that he captures command posts faster, second one that he increases the cooldown speed of nearby friendly characters, and lastly that he has health on kill as well. As for the movement, he has a dodge, jump, speed is similar to other Force users, and lastly also a flashlight. And here's also a list of all his star cards ranging from his various abilities to more health regeneration and so on, similar to how most other heroes have their abilities. And also his victory poses and emotes, and I'm very glad to see that thumbs up is available both as an emote and as a victory pose. And if you move on to the first order side and BB-9E. Similar to BB-8, BB-9E will have a primary weapon that is centered around his shock prod, which stuns enemies periodically and deals damage over time. He also has a number of abilities based on utility. The first one is Smoke Screen. Upon activation, dense smoke will be emitted from BB-9E through the grids of his body, revealing enemies around him for the duration of the active time. Hopefully a little bit better than Lando's Smoke Grenade. The second ability is Charge Up, which emits a pulse that places his shock prod and all nearby friendly blasters into super success mode. This will cause friendly units to no longer generate heat on their blasters and will also reduce their ability recharge time. The third ability of BB-9E is Shock Spin. When used, BB-9E will spin and release an electrical pulse that pushes and damages enemies that are nearby. Any enemies that are further away will have their blasters overheated. So it sounds like he's also going to be pretty good at capturing areas and objectives. And well, he does sound a little bit more support driven than BB-8, but that's something we knew beforehand. I'm very curious to see how they're both going to play out in game modes like Heroes vs Villains though. As for passive abilities, BB-9E will also count as 2 units when capturing a command post and activate an object faster. So both BB-8 and BB-9E will have the same passive ability there. They will also both have health on kill, but the Bacta support is unique for BB-9E, where he periodically regenerates the main health of friendly characters around him. So BB-9E will heal people around him, BB-8 will instead give them shorter cooldowns. And they have the same movement and similar star cards as well. And there's also a list of the victory poses and emotes. And then we have the Age of Resistance. So the BB update will include a Capital Supremacy for the sequel Era trilogy, including the MC-85 Star Cruiser and Resurgent class Star Destroyer. It will be available on Aegean Class, Jakku, and Takodana. So not on all sequel planets, but most of them. And these 3 planets will also be available in instant action. The Era Select menu will also be updated to include the sequel era now that you can play both the sequel era and the Clone Wars era in Capital Supremacy, and of course we get the original trilogy later down the line as well, which means it's good to have a select depending on what your preferred era is. And there's also been some AI improvements here, as the Droidicus will now be available in co-op and instant action as AI, and the AI will now also be able to melee you, so be careful before you get up close to an enemy AI. And then we have some quality of life changes in the BB update as well. As for hit markers, they've created unique hit markers for explosive and melee damage, which means that you will more clearly see if you are dealing splash damage to an enemy or if you're hitting your target directly. And if you do hit someone with an explosive bullet, you will see both a normal hit indicator plus the new explosive damage hit indicator, so that you will know that it wasn't just the splash damage that hit them, but you did hit them directly as well. As for explosive damage reduction to match the hit marker, they've also added some new game effects that will show the reduced explosive damage, for instance, if you have the bodyguard star card, and it's going to be similar to the normal damage reduction in-game messaging, with a unique icon for explosive damage reduction that looks like 4 small dots, and it can be displayed on the existing shield icon that they have above the enemies' heads right now. The Flametrooper has also gotten some new UI so that you can more easily see the range of the flamethrower, as that was definitely a bit unclear as of right now. And lastly, also some changes to the spool up functionality of the Ovisian Gunner's weapon, combined with some changes to the heavy sentry ability, as they work similarly, as the abilities do work the same way, just that the Ovisian Gunner is a little bit more powerful, and obviously you can run around when you're using it as well. So that is quite a lot of things coming and being updated in this patch, and we also have the full release notes here, which I'm just briefly going to go over some of the important parts, but again, if you want to read them full from start to finish, you can find that in the description below, because there are some things here that they did not mention in the actual community transmission. For instance, Hero Showdown is now available in Agent Class, and there's also 2 new emotes added to the game, Thumbs Up for Finn and Showdown for Kylo Ren, which will be unlockable through milestones. As for some hero changes, there are a ton of bug fixes here as always that you can find in the full release notes, but they've also added an ability Crosshair for Kylo Ren's Frenzy and Palpatine's Chain Lightning ability, and Vader's now able to attack and block while choking. So I hope to see some Rogue One action clips be in the community on Monday. Palpatine has also been nerfed with a little bit of damage reduction to his normal lightning damage, as well as the slow removed from the dark aura, reduced the chain lightning radius, and so on. So it's going to be interesting to see how strong he's going to be now. I didn't think he was that OP, but hopefully it's not too weak either. Anakin Skywalker has also gotten a nerf with reduced damage to the pressure star card, as well as reduced damage of the passionate strike and the heroic impact on troopers and reinforcements. Han Solo's shoulder charge now deals 200 damage to troopers, which means you should be able to one-shot all of the normal troopers as long as they aren't boosted. Bosk's proximity mines have been updated so that when you see the yellow outline around them, it means they've actually been armed. Previously, that wasn't completely timed, so sometimes you would think they were armed, but they wouldn't actually go off. Some minor tweaks and bug fixes to Supremacy and Co-op as well. The K-Fix Spy has been slightly buffed by having a longer rapid-fire ability. And as for the officer, they've made the battle command a 360 ability instead of a forward-facing cone, which I actually thought it already was a 360 ability, but I guess it's not. And they've also reduced the radius because of that, and also slightly reduced officer's scoring with the kill assist you get after buffing a friendly player with the battle command. So you'll probably get a slightly less point gain overall with the officer as of this patch. Also some more reinforcement changes here. One thing that stuck out to me is that the Droideka will now be getting a 50% damage reduction while in wheel form and increase the shield health to 600. So it will be probably a little bit more useful now. But that's all I wanted. To cover in the release notes. As always, you can get the full release notes in the description below. It is pretty lengthy, so if you have a favorite bug or not favorite bug that you want to know if it's been fixed, check out that link in the description below. And lastly, here is the community calendar of February. No new events as far as I can see, but it's some fast spawn, battle point event, Heroes Unleashed, reinforcement, triple XP, and of course the mid-week boost. So look out for that during the weekends. But that's all I've got for you today. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.